So, the Wurkkos TS30S comes with this ridiculous giant murder bezel that screws onto the front of the light. It's awesome, hilarious, and for most people, completely pointless, which is why it's actually no longer being sold. So if you want this accessory, you'll have to buy an old stock light. Some are still shipping with it. Alright, so now that's out of the way. The TS30S is a fantastic light. I've had this for almost a year at this point, and it's been a total surprise hit for me, and is now one of my go-to recommendations. This 21700 USB-C rechargeable Anduril-based light packs a powerful Luminus SBT90.2 and a beautiful reflector that provides a super high output and a great throwy yet balanced beam. Though not perfect, this is all around one of the best lights you can get for outdoor use, and even with its pricey LED, it's a fantastic value buy at just $65. So what are you getting for that $65? Well, the light is decently well built and has a great balanced form factor that feels nice in the hand. The large aluminum reflector and mineral crystal glass lens are of high quality, and the USB-C charging port is very well sealed. My only real complaints are the slightly sharp cooling fins on the head, and the fact that none of the segments actually line up, which looks weird but is typical at this price point. While the first light I have was very clean, the second light I received had some weird particles in the reflector that had to be cleaned out, so be aware the quality control isn't the greatest. The pill features a big rubber-covered E-switch with a green auxiliary light. This switch is of good quality and is pretty easy to find in the dark. The stainless steel secondary bezel is easily removable and screws into the main bezel, which keeps the lens and reflector in place. The light is easy to disassemble and mod, with lots of potential for interesting high-powered emitters to be used in here. The stock Luminus SBT90.2 is a very powerful LED that produces a super bright and throwy beam. It's probably my favorite LED for serious usage, but that performance comes with a hefty price tag. Currently, the lowest I've seen this emitter go is about $30, which is almost half the price of this whole light. This is one of the cheapest ways to get an SBT90, and it's utilized very well here. The beam has an intensity of 40 candela per lumen, with a maximum intensity of about 200,000 candela. Not only is it throwy, but the beam pattern is very nice for balanced usage, with a tight, clean hotspot, strong soft corona, and a nice wide spill. There's no major tint shift or visible artifacts here. The SBT90 is not known for its coloration, having a reputation for green tint, especially on lower output levels. This first light I have here is actually an exception. With a very neutral color, it's honestly the best SBT90 I have used. On the other hand, this other light I have is the worst SBT90 I've seen, with a strong green tint even on turbo. So there's definitely a tint lottery going on here, with no guarantees of any particularly nice color. That's just how it is with these LEDs really, and I wouldn't worry much about it, as odds are you won't even notice without direct comparison. The TS30S uses a pretty standard FET plus N driver for direct drive on turbo. Now, they claim this light will produce 6,000 lumens, but that is just not going to happen with this setup. With the stock battery, I measured a very bright 4,500 lumens, and a more powerful cell gave me just over 5,000. This is a nice bump, but the stock battery is perfectly fine, as it has a nice high capacity and the maximum turbo level will drop pretty quickly anyways due to heat buildup. I am very happy with this output. It is super bright and very competitive, but I am disappointed that Wurkkos would make ridiculous claims about this output. Consider this a 4,000 plus lumen flashlight. Being an Anduril light, the thermal limit can be configured for best performance. I tested it with targets of 45, 50, 55, and 60 degrees Celsius, and found that 60C provided almost 3 minutes at max output before stepping down, which is quite impressive. Normally I stick with the stock target, but figure this outdoor use light should be run a bit harder. Just be aware it will get quite hot. Overall though, I did find 50C to provide the best balanced performance and reasonable temperatures. This driver isn't super efficient or well regulated, but it gets the job done and runtimes are decent. Turbo on this setting manages to sustain over 600 lumens for most of the run, climbing up to 800 towards the end, before dying out at just under 2 hours. A good result. The highest regulated level is about 143 lumens, which will run for a long time and is very stable. Because this light is so throwy, even that level is very effective and is all you really need for most usage. And that's really what impresses me most about this light. Sure, it's really bright when you want it to be, but its tight yet usable beam allows for very reasonable run times at moderate levels that you're actually going to use. I am really satisfied with the performance for the price. Of course, this light is loaded with ToyKeeper's Anduril firmware, in this case the older Anduril 1. Wurkkos isn't the best with firmware it seems, and it's strange this one is still shipping with the older version instead of the superior Anduril 2. However, at the end of the day, it's just a flashlight with some neat features, and honestly, A1 is fine. I do wish this light had accessible flashing pads for easy updates. I would like to see Wurkkos release a newer version with these pads and the newer firmware. I know they can do it. Well, there are a couple of minor nitpicks I have. Of course it's not perfect, but as a whole, this light just works very well for me, and it's easy to recommend to anyone wanting an outdoor use light with some serious power and good throw, especially if you're interested in these more enthusiast options with this fancy interface. It is both an enthusiast powerhouse and a very practical option. Between the form factor, beam quality, output, interface, and price, this is just a great light. And honestly, that's all there is to say. So yeah, I highly recommend it. And that's all there is for this video, so I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.